Oh, look at that. I'm already on air. Welcome to Nation of Domination with GM and Mo-Con here. A little cough drink. As we gear up for what is now the final stretch of the season, the final third coming up for the FPF season here, and we have a lot to get to, especially with the playoff rankings. Who's in, who's out, who could be in, who could be out by the time it's all said and done as we approach Week 11. Let's go into the opening drive. First game on the tap here. 6 fast guys upending Shamrocks, 47-41. Fred Vian, 25 for 29, 6 TDs, 1 INT. GM Dougie McKernan, 6 TDs, but he had a critical INT that resulted in points swinging for the Shamrocks. How big was this win for the psyche of 6 fast guys after stumbling the last 2 weeks?
Honestly, just taking a quick look at the stat sheet, I don't think it would have mattered whether 6 fast guys won or lost on the field because the game would have been a write-off anyways. Seeing that Jourdain Alexis has thrown a pass in Division 4, that would have been a forfeit for 6 fast guys plus Ryans anyways, considering if you click on Jourdain Alexis right here,
1 for 1, 20 yards.
1 for 1, 20 yards.
Which I scored cap, by the way. Yeah.
Jourdain Alexis' offensive rating, if you look up, is 82.8, which would make him ineligible to throw in Division 4, and that would have cost them the game. So I think that regardless of what would have gone on, and Shamrocks would have complained and pleaded, learned the rules, you would have lost the game 30-0.
All right, well, it's okay. Aside from the whole mathematical formula here.
Actually, theoretically, that would help 6 fast guys plus their points against.
Correct, it would, yes.
So maybe 6 fast guys are watching. They're going to now file a formal complaint to the FPF. Thank you, GM.
Hey, it's not whether I do it or not. You make the choices on the field with your roster.
But in terms of the psyche, though, regardless of numbers here, Jourdain Alexis throwing or not, whatever it is.
This is a potential finals matchup, considering one plays in Conference A and one plays in Conference B. You get a good feeler for the talent and how they measure up. 6 fast guys have been doing exceptionally well right now. They managed to hold their own with, I wouldn't say a deeper roster, but a larger roster. They have Shamrocks have the size matchup on them, and they have the experience matchup on them right now. And the fact that despite their championship win last spring, it's weird naming 6 fast guys plus Ryans the underdog in the experience column.
All right, well, since we went a little bit ahead here, we'll go with this question here. Are these the 2 best teams in Div 4?
No. I think the race is so close right now, not excluding Grip and Rip, not excluding, I don't like tooting my own horn, but not excluding Crisp as well when they're at full strength. There are other teams that are equally capable of doing well in the division.
Okay, Shamrocks, we look at
69ers
them.
69ers as well, who have that
fantastic win last week they had on Saturday in Brossard. Shamrocks, their value right now as a team, do you think it devalues because, again, they steamroll through the competition, the easier teams, but against the tougher competition, they've had difficulty?
It's interesting is that when they're up, you see that there's a big difference between them. It all comes down to when we've discussed the separation between the top, the middle, and the bottom of Division 4. So you see they flourish when they face the middle or the bottom of Division 4, and it shows. But they're tending to struggle when they hit a bit harder adversary. And it's really strange to me considering Doug McKernan is also a quarterback in Division 3, and he's used to seeing stronger defenses as well.
He was a little bit, as he said, hammered before the game because they came in sloppy in a sense that, A, they didn't have their roster sheet ready, and it seemed like they were never in sync from the get-go, from warm-ups onwards. So this seemed like not a good performance for the Shamrocks. Speaking of great performances, Coyotes hammer TCO, not the Crisp offense, but the original TCO led by Brent Calendar. 36-18, Sammy Feeder, 199 yards passing, 6 TDs. Andrew Langbert, 141 yards receiving, 3 TDs. How impressive was this win by the Coyotes? You and I both saw this game.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting to watch. It was something that definitely had my ears perked, not just because Crisp are playing Coyotes, but just seeing a team that we haven't covered, you and I haven't covered as much. I was especially impressed on the frequency that Sammy Feeder didn't go to his brother. You saw him really exploit the
3
matchup.
times only,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. You saw him exploit the matchup on the sidelines with Andrew Langbert running hook and go, running the flies, really just taking what the defense gave him. And I think that's testament to Sammy's growth as a quarterback in this division.
Well, I think it's big because we talk about, hey, can anyone else step up? We asked that question, 3-4 weeks ago? Yes. And maybe this is the solution of Langbert being that option number 2, a good option number 2 for this team moving forward. Because I think the downfall of the Coyotes in years past was, again, it was Sammy and his brother 1-2 punch,
and
everyone else, if they were called upon. Mm-hmm. And then when they could make a play, it was all for naught. What the hell's wrong with TCO? All the hype, But seriously though, all the hype they've had, right?
Can we get that for a soundbite, please? That actually happened.
But if you recall, Eagle, when Brent Calder was here, I said your team is terrible. You guys would be like 1-6. I'm looking like a genius right now. They're terrible.
It's interesting because they went back to Matt Rupsick. I think right now they're having a lot of trouble pacing the game. They have a great defense. They have a solid offense when it's firing on all cylinders, but just the fact that they'll either go 4 and out or really squander time on offense and then let the opposing offense march up the field while they're on defense is really, really hurting them. It doesn't just come down to making the catches and scoring touchdowns. I think it's coming down to game management as a whole. Who plays on offense when, who plays on defense when. Right. This team needs to be better managed right now.
Would you agree, for the Coyotes' sake here, that if they're going to go far, you look at their defense, they have 3 INTs, that they're going to need more from that department, because that's the one thing the Coyotes hope for is their defense come up with a big play, and that's what they did last Sunday.
That's exactly it. I couldn't agree more right now, because we know that their offense has been firing on all cylinders. Whether Sammy Feeder is going to A.J. Rashkovan, Andrew Lambert, Josh Feeder, they're very, very strong on offense. All they need to do is measure up defensively. And I think that that's an indicator based on who they play. They're not the tallest team. They're not the most physical team.
They're smart, though.
They're very, very smart. And I think that so long as they can get those stops on defense, they will continue winning games.
Dragons crushed Lafreux 46-24. Simon Dagener, our very own 60s. Martin Jackson, 3 TDs, 3 INTs. Fortier Poulin with 3 TDs. Did we see the good Simon Dagener?
Without doubt. I think it also helped for him having Maxime Côté back in the lineup. This is a player who Simon holds on a pedestal, and for good reason. He's a very, very good player. I would have him on my roster any day of the week. Just between the two of them, Maxime Côté and JFFP, Jean-François Fortier-Poulin, having those two playing at full strength, and Simon having that confidence of having them both on the field at the same time. JD Joly as well.
With a pick six,
as well as a touchdown on offense. Dragons have a surprising... I just mentioned Coyotes lack size. Dragons have a surprising amount of size, and when they're on, they're really, really on. It's interesting, consider these two teams have seen each other many, many times. They're friends off the field, on the field. They know how each other work. So I'm surprised that this game was so one-sided.
In this one-sided affair, in your mind, you think Lafreux is done?
Looking at their playoff schedule, not their playoff schedule, but their remaining season schedule.
On the Geratron 3000 we have here.
They have Longhorns.
That's a win.
2.5 Dans, which could go either way, and Show Me Your TDs, which could go either way. I think that they hold their fate in their hands right now. We're going to touch on the playoff picture a little bit later, but essentially Les Affreux do hold their fate. I don't agree. Eagles posting hashtag Matt Domon for QB. I think that he's made the choice not to play proceeding with Martin Jackson right now. It's giving Domon the ability to play receiver, to focus on managing the team as a whole as well. So long as... if you don't want to play quarterback and you're not feeling it, have someone else take the reins. We're not saying that this will be a write-off season for Les Affreux. They're still in it. So Martin Jackson could take over and do admirably. He had a solid game week 1 against the Sandlot Saints. I think he just needs to rechannel that confidence.
You can follow us on Twitter at GMCole44, at EagleFPF, and of course, Mo19 for your tweets and questions. Last question before we get to our topic du jour. Dragons, are they sneaky good?
Yes, absolutely. In the same way that I mentioned in Division 3, that a lot of the onus is on Simon Dagenet with the Snatchers. In Division 4, the onus is more because Simon knows how a lot of these defenses work, being the scribe in French for FPF, having seen a lot of these teams in seasons past. He knows how the defenses respond. Now it's on the shoulders of the Dragons receivers to make those plays, to make those catches, and help them come up ahead. They have no trouble making stops on defense. It comes down to those clutch 3rd down, 4th down catches and those touchdown grabs.
Well, we will now go to the next topic here, and that's Fighters Chance here, as we will look not at the whole division group, but the 1-2 of each division or subdivisions, which we'll get on the Geratron 3000 right now.
So just the conference breakdown.
Yeah, exactly. The first, second place teams of each division that we have for Division 4. We'll go with the first one here. Do you give Playground a fighting chance to catch up and surpass Shamrocks? Remember,
we're starting from the bottom.
We're starting from the bottom. Now we're here. You know. If you recall, Playground losing to Fly Guys, an upset victory for certified Fly Guys who pretty much don't have much of a playoff chance. But looking at Playground, do they have a fight chance to catch up and surpass Shamrocks?
I don't think so. I think the fact that right now Shamrocks only have 2 losses because considering that tie doesn't count as a loss, I don't think it's going to be enough for Playground to make those catch. They play Lobster Dinner. They play Shamrocks.
Well, that's where the game is, right?
Yeah.
That's the
and they play Malud, though. So I think that they have probably the toughest last 2 weeks of the season of any team.
Look, had they not lost to Fly Guys last week, and they imploded in that game.
Without a doubt.
They had OCs.
And at the same time, we're finally seeing the Fly Guys team that we've been expecting all season.
Yeah, but they always do that, though. They always come up big when it matters least for them.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt.
But if they didn't lose to them, and I look at that schedule now, where, of course, right now, they would have been 4-3. That means they're only a point behind. Then, yes, I think they would have a chance. And we look at week 10, or the 9th game of the year, as being the determining factor.
On a tiebreaker, besides head-to-head, because we know that that'll come into play as well, divisionally, Shamrocks are up 2-0-0.
That's
and
right.
Playground are down 2-0. There's not much coming back.
And that tie is really big for the Shamrocks when it's all said and done, if they end up being in a neck-and-neck race with Playground. 2.5 Dans. Do you give them a fighting chance to catch and surpass Grip and Rip? Dans did beat them earlier this season, but they've had difficulty of late here. And I think the biggest problem for 2.5 Dans, watch them play the last couple weeks, is their red zone offense. When they have a chance to close out teams, they fail to do so.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. However, a lot of these hypotheticals are matchup contingent, and 2.5 Dans right now, they play TCO.
That's a win.
They play Les Affreux, and they play Backyard Bullies. And considering they have the win on Grip and Rip, if you bring up Grip and Rip's remaining games as well, it's gonna come right down to the wire. Grip and Rip play Dragons, Longhorns, and Marco in the middle. I think that there's a lot of potential for surprise in the Marco in the middle game, and Dragons control their fate, as we said before. Grip and Rip are a very good team, especially defensively. So I wouldn't write them off, but it's going to come down to the wire. But I'm going to play it safe and say Grip and Rip will still finish.
And those 2 ties could hurt 2.5 Dans when you think about it right now, because again, if it came down to points, right, wins of course being one of the big factors, that could be the reason why Grip and Rip will take the leaders poll into the playoffs moving forward. Next question: do you give Marco in the middle a fighting chance to surpass Backyard Bullies? Marco in the middle did defeat the Bullies earlier this season.
I think that this is going to be very, very interesting to see. They play brothers, Eskimo brothers, back-to-back brothers, and then Grip and Rip. So
brothers are tailspin right now. They've not played well. Remember when you and I spoke about them? Yes. They're 3-0. We're like, yeah, they're for real. Now they're not for real.
They're not for real. It really hurts when you don't have your starting quarterback.
Well, Morgan Tefo was not there. Yeah.
Connor O'Brien did an admirable job. Even played the second half injured as well after a knee-to-knee contact. Still did well despite limping on the field noticeably. But those 2 games are going to be easier for them, and then it comes down to the Grip and Rip game. Backyard Bullies are playing Recipe for Disaster, which is going to severely inhibit Rich Humes' ability to run.
Because Ryan Reedy's a monster.
Yeah, he's fierce. Show Me Your TDs and 2.5 Dans.
That's a tough schedule. I'm sorry. That's a very tough schedule.
It's a trap schedule because you look at it and you say, oh, Backyard Bullies right now, they're leading the division, but it may not be for long. They really, really don't. They have to go in clear-headed in every game and not take anyone lightly.
I'll tell you this right now, and that I know we'll talk more about it as a whole, but that West Division with Backyard Bullies, Malcolm in the Middle, Brothers, and Show Me Your TDs, theoretically speaking, I mean, you never know, Show Me Your TDs and Brothers could sneak up and be in a 1 or 2 spots.
It is the one that is most up for grabs, except for maybe Conference Beast, because right now, having Malud and Game Changers both at 6-1, and they will play each other, very, very interesting to see.
It will be.
I don't think Mustangs DG are going to catch either of these 2. That's definitely a write-off. But it's interesting to see these 2 teams who know each other decently well as well.
Well, that's answer my next question. We'll go to the next one then. We'll go to Recipe for Disaster. Fighters' chance to catch up and surpass Punt Returns and Cream Team.
Where are we?
Oh, we're scrolling up now.
Just skip Conference B.
Yeah, we need Conference B.
Well, you answered the question. It was about the Mustangs DG.
Okay. So, since we're done with Conference B, what we can also do is relax the pace a little bit, take a break, and then
we have one more team. One more division to go, my friend. Then we'll take the break. How about that? Recipe for Disaster. a fighter's chance to catch up and surpass punt returners and Cream Team. Remember, they lost to Cream Team and defeated punt returners earlier this season.
So seeing them at 4-3 right now, it really helped that they beat punt returners yesterday. Backyard Bullies, Trap Stars, and TCO are all very, very winnable games for them. Backyard Bullies will be the most difficult because it's an even matchup for them. It all depends on how well Ryan Aridi does against Rich Humes. Both defenses are equally good. I like Recipe for Disaster coming out of nowhere. They're a team we haven't been mentioning as much, but they do have potential to win their division.
A big win for them last night against punt returners as well.
Punt returners play Trap Stars, who have been in a downward spiral. BMS Goats, which is going to be a very, very interesting game, in Coyotes as well. I wouldn't write off BMS Goats right now to take punt returners in that game.
Well, there's plenty of racetrack left, 3 weeks to be exact here, so we'll see how that plays out. Coming up next, we'll look at the wild card picture. Who's in, who's out? Who are we buying from the pack of teams? And teams on the outside looking in, who could be in, who could be out. Stay tuned. This is Nation Domination with a GM and MK and Eagle here in the Nest and lovely downtown central northern eastern Laval. Stay tuned. Calling the Audible has been brought to you by the English Montreal School Board's DEAL program. Distance education for all learners will allow you to obtain your high school diploma or prerequisites for CEGEP or vocational studies from the comfort of your own home. It's never too late to go back to school. Learn anywhere at your own pace and get your diploma. Call 514-788-5937 for information or visit www.distanted.ca for more details. So we just learned from Eagle that we have a keyboard and mouse over here, so I can mess around with our show if we want
Odds
to.
are we're not going to.
No.
Because multitasking is not our strong point. We're men and we're already breathing, so that's too much to really do anything.
Absolutely. Welcome back to Nation Domination with GM and Eagle and Mocon. At GM Cole 44, Eagle FPF, and of course Mocon 19. Let's dive into the wild card picture. Who's in, who's out. As you can see on the Juratron 3000, we have our listings. Only one team officially eliminated, which is Justice League. They have a grand total of 0 points, so they're more or less done. Some teams are on the, I guess, deathbed. That's TCL, local leaders with 2 points each, Longhorns, Eskimo Brothers, so on and so forth here. We'll go pretty much, we'll look at this cutoff here. We'll look at, for Conference A, teams 16 and 17, Black Ice, Southside Ballers with 4 points each, along with Deck Dynasty. Trap Stars in 14th with 6 points, along with BMS Goes with 6 points here. A lot of teams are clustered right now, GM. Looking at it right now, from the outside looking in, BMS Goes, Trap Stars, LDD, Black Ice, Southside Ballers. Out of all those teams, is there one that you're buying, seeing that they can jump into the picture and maybe sneak in as a lower end seed?
Right now, looking at BMS Goats, like I said earlier that I wouldn't write them off completely, but they have both the possibility to do incredibly well and incredibly poorly. Right now, BMS Goats have 281 points against. To put that into perspective, Justice League have 0 wins, 0 points, and only have 248 points against. They have the most points against in Division 4, and they've still managed to be 13th in Conference A. That's cause for worry. Even though they have a great offense, they have a strong quarterback, And next to them, right below them, is Trap Stars, a team that at one point threw 5 interceptions in a game.
They haven't played well, Trap Stars. So it's that classic. And you know what it is though? Trap Stars in 14th, as you made the point before. They're in a position right now where I look at them, awesome defense, but quarterback's killing them. And I think that's going to hurt them to even get into the playoffs if they do get in as a lower end seed.
So at this point, asking a famous Mocon question, do you buy or sell stock in Mendy Carson as QB?
I am buying Mendy Carson as a player, but selling stock in Mr. Richard as the quarterback of this team. Okay, well, even more here. Teams who are in. Team Ethnic, Ballbusters, Zoo. Team Ethnic in 10th with 7 points. Ballbusters, Zoo both have 6, both 11th and 12th. Out of those 3 teams, do you see anyone falling off from that position?
Right now, it's really a toss-up with these teams because these 3 teams are teams that we have had higher expectations of and have been up and down right now. Ethnic started off very, very slow and are really starting to catch momentum now. Same with Ballbusters. They had a weak beginning of the season. They have a difficult matchup coming up this week. It's very contingent on them. And Zoo, we don't know which Zoo is going to come to play week in, week out.
That's too bad. Zoo has some talent to work with, and they have not played as consistently as they should have.
We're at, what, week 7 right now, and Mocon has already sold his
I have not sold my Zoo. I have my Zoo.
Okay.
This is a bit disappointed in them. They know it. Okay, top end in this conference here, Coyotes, 6 Fast Guys, Shmoney, Cream Team, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 2 points separates Cream Team from the Coyotes for first overall. And then you have Crisp, 69ers, and Ghost, 12, 10 points here. In my humble opinion, I think we're going to see a huge change, and the snakes and ladders will begin where teams will move up. And
I'm glad you said it, so I'm not going to say it, but there is a matchup that will decide who will probably take the
that TCO Shmoney game is going to really... we'll talk about that game as we approach what you're referring to, Chris versus the Coyotes, which essentially is a de facto 1 versus 4 or 1 versus 5 seed in terms of where you'd be ranked.
Whoever wins that game will probably get the bye week, and whoever loses...
Exactly. But in terms of that right now, we're looking at it from 1 through 7. Again, snakes and ladders, I see someone from that top 4, maybe Coyotes, maybe Shmoney, maybe Cream Team might be falling off. I think 6 Fast Guys have found their way, and I think will be a solid number 2, if not number 3, in the playoffs.
Yeah, for the most part, I like this top 6. The only real question mark for me right now is Ghosts. I think that because they're so up and down, they're the team that's most likely to fall out of that top tier.
All right, flipping over to Conference B. We'll go bottom to top here. Right now, I would say the cutoff, probably Les Affreux with 4 points at 18th overall here. Whisperers, Lobster Dinner, Certified Fly Guys, 15th, 16th, and 17th. Playground in 13th.
I'm really happy that Sandlot Saints have turned it around and are still playoff eligible.
But right now, out of those teams who are now on the outside looking in, Playground, right through Les Affreux, who do you see sneaking up and maybe making a run for a playoff spot?
We mentioned how tough Playground's remaining games are, so right now I think it's fair to write them off until they prove otherwise. Sandlot Saints, on the other hand, a team I love to death. They're a very, very good team. They have a strong fan base. I like where they're at, and if you should bring up their last few games as well, the Sandlot Saints, their roster is well built, but like everything else, I feel like I'm repeating myself ad nauseum right now. It's very matchup contingent. They play Les Malades, which is going to be a very difficult, very, very difficult game.
Tough game.
Mustangs, DG. Though, to be fair, Sandlot Saints came out with the surprise win over punt returners. So I know it's a different... Malades are a different beast than punt returners are.
Yeah.
But there's still option for that surprise there. But Mustangs, DG, and Lobster Dinner will essentially... Those 2 games will essentially determine their fate.
I think Sandlot Saints is probably better as a Div 5 team to let them grow and then move to Div 4.
I think that it's one of those odd spots where you feel that a team would be too dominant in one division, but then middle of the pack or weaker in another.
Let's get back quickly to the Juratron 3000 stands we have right now before we go to break. Okay, quickly here, we'll go through the middle pack right here. Mustangs, DG, Mark in the middle, A Squad I think will be in as middle of the pack teams here. But from 2.5 stands at the 6th spot, right up to Malade at the number 1 spot, only 2 points separates 1 through 6 here. I think we're going to see a huge tumble in
There's so much potential for change here. I mentioned Dragons have their fate in their own hands. Show Me Your TDs are up and down right now. You don't really know how they're going to play from week to week. Brothers we can say, are on a steady decline right now.
Well, I think for Malud...
Yes, that's right. Thank you, Eagle. Best wishes to Daniel Adana for his ACL recovery. He's. I know you were speaking about it as well.
Yes,
on
Wednesday,
Sunday.
I believe he had it.
Yeah, his surgery has just happened.
Well, maybe go live to see the surgery if we have that technology.
Oof. I don't think anyone wants to see that.
I think Game Changers will move up. 2.5 Dans has the ability, but again, it's back to their offense scoring when they have to. Look, Malud, Grip and Rip, Backyard Bullies. I like Backyard Bullies a lot here, but I think they're a little bit flawed as a top 4 seed. I think they might be a middle of the pack seed moving forward. So we'll have to see.
I think it helps that the fact that they're playing Recipe for Disaster coming up, they're not a Conference B team, they're Conference A team, helps them that even if they do come out with a loss in that game, it's not going to do too much to them because it's not aiding someone else in Conference B to make that springboard.
Okay, let's quickly go to teams' future outlook for the next season here. And quickly here, we have Longhorns, TCO, Fly Guys, Whisperers, Lobster Dinner, Eskimo Brothers, and Southside Ballers. At all those teams, whether it's the Longhorns, TCO, Fly Guys, whoever it is, which of these teams do you think can rebound next season, spring that is, and come back and with a vengeance and be a powerhouse team again?
It's strange because TCO you would think would be the most likely, assuming they'll have Doug McKernan back. It's safe to say they'll be in Division C. I'd like to see Longhorns in Division D. They do often do better in the spring than they do in the winter.
That's a weird,
It's so weird.
Yeah, weird.
But I think that as much as I respect the Longhorns for challenging themselves season after season, I'd like them to really do well in a lower division and really gain that respect. Because I don't think that a lot of the FPF community as a whole looks at them the way
or
we
they
do.
know who they are. They're not really a flamboyant team, though.
But I think that's what gets so much respect from the rest of the FPF media team.
But quickly here, players that have to step up this week in your mind. Any guy out there that you think has to play well and get their team in position to be a playoff contender by the time week 9 and 10 rolls around?
So many right now we've mentioned. It all comes down to the quarterbacking of every team because the defenses, because the games are so tightly contested, because so many teams are separated by one win or a loss.
Right.
Quarterbacks need to make sure every possession drive counts. I can't just single out one person because I'm going to feel like a dick doing it, but there are so many quarterbacks who are the heart and soul of their team that need to step up.
All right, final 4 picks for this week here. We'll go with the first game. Gripper Rip Dragons, 8.5 points for GNR.
Yeah, I think the GNR Guns N' Roses are going to do really, really well against Dragons. The Dragons are definitely behind the 8 ball on this one. I will be very impressed. I'm not putting it past them, but I would be very impressed if Dragons come out with a win here. So I'm going to say Grip and Rip, and they beat the spread.
I think GNR is banned from performing in Montreal after the 1992 riots at the Big O. I read up on that, actually, the other week. Brothers, Marco in the middle. 3.5 points for Marco in the middle.
I think Marco, this must be me going against the spread because I think Marco in the middle are going to win and beat the spread. I think that Marco in the middle match up very, very well.
So you're going with the
against
spread?
The brothers. No, I think they're going to do better than the spread.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Okay.
I can see Marco in the middle winning by 1 touchdown, 2 touchdown easily.
Backyard Bullies, Recipe for Disaster, 5.5 points for the Bullies. That's a grip spread, is it not?
It is a good spread. So I'm not going to go with the spread on this one.
You have to go with spread, my friend.
I'm not going to do it. I feel like this is a trap game for Backyard Bullies. I think that they don't match up as well to Recipe for Disaster than it looks like on paper, and I think that Recipe for Disaster do have this game, albeit a very close one.
Finally, A-Squad Game Changers, 7.5 points for Game Changers.
Once again, going with the spread here. Backyard Bullies, Recipe for Disaster was the anomaly. Game Changers are going to win this one. They will probably do better than the spread as well. I think that this team, despite their losses on the roster, they're evolving. They're doing better than we've anticipated them doing. I really like what Game Changers have, and it has nothing to do with the fact that Anton Sakis is playing with me in Div 3.
Finally, what did you learn on today's episode?
I learned that the playoffs are still to be determined, and it doesn't really matter what's happened up until now because everything is matchup contingent, and I can always say that and use it as a scapegoat when I don't know what to say.
I learned that Terry Tam has dimples.
Oh,
Terry Tam has dimples. That's what I learned. At Eagle, hey Terry, how's it going? Eagle FPF. You can follow him on Twitter at GMCole44 at MoCon19.
and Eagle learned that playoff segments run long. Really, playoff segments in a 40-team division run long?
No, not at all. Not at all. We'll be back here. We'll have Week 9 complete as we gear up for Week 10 in a week's time from now. Good morning, South Korea.